are going to start recording now. Like I said, my name is Roxy Deer. I'm Director of Professional Development for the Wayne County Chamber. And I'm joined today with Laura Lee Heights, Ashley Sieb, and Peggy Sinova. And we're going to be talking about how to kind of manage your business during the COVID-19 scare that we're all going through right now. So Laura Lee, will you switch the slides? Thank you. So as we go through the slides today, we are going to keep everyone on mute. You have the option to turn your screen on or off, depending on what you're comfortable with. You will see at the bottom of your screen the option that says chat. Go ahead and click on that and a chat box will pop up on the right side of your screen. This is a great area to drop questions. I'll be managing the chat box throughout the conversation today. And if we have any questions that pop up, I'll make sure that they get asked to our presenters today. So while we get started, we're going to go ahead and start with a poll. The first poll we're going to do is going to pop up on your screen, and we want you to pick what your top 3 concerns with respect to the COVID-19 are. So take a few seconds and answer that question. Great, we're seeing answers pop in. Give you about 10 more seconds to answer the poll question. All right, so as we can see, a lot of us are affected by the long-term financial resources that we'll see from this, along with some concerns about business in the future, which is great because Laura Lee will be talking about that. Also seeing some concerns about customer purchases, which Ashley will talk about in her marketing in just a minute. So as we use those results for today, we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsor, that is First Merchants Bank, for sponsoring this luncheon today. We're really excited to have them sponsor each month. If you haven't attended a business education luncheon in the past, we do these monthly with the Wayne County Chamber. I'm excited to welcome 3 guest speakers today that I think make a powerful panel. We have Peggy Sinova from the East Central Indiana Small Business Development Center. Peggy works with small businesses all across Wayne County and all across East Central Indiana. She's a phenomenal speaker and a great resource for our community. Laura Lee Heights is from Stratavise Consulting, the owner of Stratavise. She is a great strategy presenter and she knows a lot about businesses and how to pivot into successful opportunities. And then we have Ashley Sieb from Ashley Sieb Marketing, who is a whiz on all things marketing, not just social media. She's going to be speaking today about how you can market your business during these times. So please welcome these ladies, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We identified, this is a great chart to look at. It's from McKinsey & Company, and it's just talking about the 5 different ways to respond. And Ashley, you may have a little bit more information on this, but it's basically how companies need to respond in the top 5 areas. Do you want to add anything, Ashley?
Sorry, I thought you did a great job. Yeah, I think for me, it's really important to illustrate this slide because there are some short-term impacts and there will be long-term impacts. And so a lot of us need to figure out what are the things we can do right now, and then what should we be planning for? And I think we have a dynamic group of speakers who will hit on both of those areas for sure, because we know this will impact our economy and these 5 areas. So what should we be doing now and planning for in the future?
Exactly. So with that being said, we're going to hand the ball over to Peggy Sanova, who will be talking about the financial impacts of COVID-19. Peggy?
Well, I think we all need to really remember, don't panic, and we're going to try to help you create a plan right now. As we all know, panic is never a position of power. So today we're going to highlight some of the ideas for trying to take control and making a plan. My usual talking and speaking is with a lot of humor, so I hope that I offend no one if I keep some lightness on this very heavy subject. And if you have any questions, be sure to put them in the chat box. I'll try to answer those. If I can't answer them on the spot, I'll try to get an answer for you later on. So it's time to process where you are. What is your current financial position? And I think many of us have used, we will work on that when our accountant comes around. We will look at it at tax time, and we haven't really taken a look at our business's financial position. So right now it's a good time to look at what revenue can you expect during these coming weeks. What's going to happen once the quarantine is over? What revenue will happen? Will the doors open and people will need what we are selling, or will things change forever? Also, take a look at what you have in accounts payable to vendors. Just get a list, figure it out. And will you be able to keep your employees, or will this be a time to make those difficult decisions for layoffs? My advice for that layoff information is to make sure that you are doing it with empathy, and that you're giving as much information to your employees as you can. I think sometimes just saying, I don't have all the information, can be better than not talking to your employees. And remember, when you get back into business and things are normal again, you will need them as much as ever. So just make sure that you're using empathy with that kind of communication. So I think we're going to have a copy of this PowerPoint out for you. I see that question coming up here. Mm-hmm. So determine if you can work out long-term paybacks to some vendors. You might know who they would be, the friendlier ones, the ones that you've had a long-term relationship with. Reach out to them, see if there can be some extensions. And then talk with your banker. Are there possibilities? And it's just much better for you to talk to your banker as soon as you have your plan in mind, rather than to wait for them to talk to you. Maybe you could skip a payment. I think maybe some people just, that's all they need is one payment skip. Or perhaps you could skip 3 payments and tack those onto the end of your loan. Or maybe you need to renegotiate the whole debt that you have to the bank, and you could get more money and lower rates. There's always hope for that. I've talked with lots of bankers, and those bankers are saying that it's just really on a case-by-case basis. So my best advice is to get your information together and then communicate with those you need to communicate with. Keep in mind that bringing on additional debt can be very dangerous for your business. That's where that pro forma, or looking forward to what revenue might be and what you might be able to pay once the quarantine's over. I would avoid credit card debt at all costs, because that interest rate is just so high. Just make sure that the debt that you might be taking on can reasonably be repaid from the revenue you'll be taking. We've got lots of resources for loan package information. This first disasterloan.sba.gov changed overnight. They had a website up, I think, for about a week. It was very onerous. I had many clients trying to work through that loan application process, and overnight they changed it to a much simpler process. This would be 24 hours ago. So if you go to disasterloan.sba.gov, you'll see a whole different process for applying for that loan, and I think it's going to be much simpler for you. Generator.com are going to have webinars on business recovery, and I think that they will have a different one every week, and that might be a great website for you to go to. There's also a micro lender, bankable.org, that can just give you a bridge loan. So that's a wonderful resource to go look through and see if that's something that would help your business. And then help with all of the above can be found at isvdc.org. We have a whole page on coping with all of this. And of course, we are here to talk with any business, any small business that wants to talk with us at no cost to them. So my suggestion is just a little bit of a marketing here, Ashley. I don't think I'm taking any of your thunder, but reach out to your customers. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And this is a time to outreach, not just purely for sales, but for comfort. Those people that you've had a long-term relationship with would just like to hear from you and know that you're going to be there on the other side. And I think that they will remember that building relationships. So that if we can build relationship right now, it can be very valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll look at some of these questions here. I'm not sure about that insurance question. I haven't heard of any being forced, but the government regulations are changing every day. And the stimulus bill that is being looked at by the Congress right now will change some of this and hopefully give us some more options. And I think that at that point, we're ready to talk to Ashley about marketing, but I will take other questions if you have them.
Yeah, Peggy, I've had a few questions come in. We
Okay.
had one that said if someone submitted an application for the disaster loan before they changed the application, do they need to do anything?
They can go to that disasterloan.gov website, and there will appear 3 dots in the middle of the first page, and you can look there to see where your application is in the process. So hopefully that information will be there. If not, I actually have been talking with the head of the SBA in Indiana this morning about all those changes, and they're kind of on the fly right now, but you definitely can contact me and I will try to get that information for you.
Okay. And then Peggy, somebody asked, how will I be able to keep my employees after all of this is over?
I'm not sure what they mean by that. How will they be able to keep them? Hopefully they'll have revenues that they'll be able to pay them through. It's going to be difficult. That's why it's just really serious stuff right now, and we don't have all the answers. Someone wants to, go ahead.
Yeah, what is the difference between a disaster loan and a regular loan with this SBA?
That's a great question. A regular loan has payments monthly, and it's usually done through a bank. And this disaster loan is directly with the SBA. And I've heard anywhere from 6 months to 12 months, there will be grace where you won't have to have any payment whatsoever. So I think that I think that explains the differences.
Laura Lee has asked, is there a state option or a federal option? Or
right
both?
Now, the SBA is a federal option. I don't know of any state funding that's available. There might be some, but we haven't been made aware of it.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go, if you still have questions, go ahead and drop them. I'll keep them noted here, and then we'll come back to Peggy in just a bit with more questions. We're going to pass it over to Ashley to talk about marketing right now.
All right, Peggy, thank you so much. You definitely didn't steal too much thunder, but I think you hitting on empathy and understanding and talking to your customers is a key theme of my content today. So we are going to talk through how can you market right now in the middle of a crisis. And I will say, as a marketer, I'm on Twitter right now. I have my phone right here. If you want to tweet me any questions, I'll check that, as well as the chat box as well. We can make this interactive all across the board. So I want to remind you that we still need marketing even in the middle of a crisis. For me, I tried to think about, have I ever been through anything like this in my lifetime in a crisis kind of way? And for me, I went back in time to 9/11. So some of you are going to be on the call, and maybe you were younger when this happened to you. I was in high school when 9/11 happened. Roxy, you might have been in middle school. I don't know how far off we are from each other, but
I was in 5th grade.
Okay, go back on mute. No one wants to hear that. So we've done this before, never to this magnitude, right? But we have done marketing in times of uncertainty and radical change. Marketing with 9/11 disrupted shopping processes. People were not traveling. Whenever we were doing 9/11 as well, there was a lot of fear, and people were bunkered up and bunkered down, just like our governor came out and said the other day, which is like the most Indiana way to say stay in place. I kind of loved it. But we've done this before. So I want to remind you that we have been through hard times before, and history proves that we can get through this. So let's talk about that and what you can actually do today. So the way that I look at this is you're either going to flip or you're going to flop. I'll give you a great example of a brand who did some really good flipping marketing, right? So if you think of HGTV, like we want to be on the flip side. We want to make some good choices. Jack's Donuts. I don't know if anybody loves Jack's Donuts. I don't think there's one around Richmond, but I know there's a few in Fishers and a few other areas in Indiana. They created a take and make donut kit, which I thought was fantastic, because if you are at home with your kids right now, you're desperately trying to get them to do things while you're working. Anybody relate to that? You can drop a little empathy comments in the chat if you are relating to that. So you're right, Heather, this is perfect timing. This was a great idea for them to do, and it was interactive, it was empathetic, and it was helpful, right? A not so great example is going to be whenever you send something that is rushed. And when I say rushed, I highlighted this high contact first name. Has anybody gotten an email like that? That was a marketer who was trying to get something out the door really quickly. Have a little empathy, we've all been there, but they were rushing, and they also weren't really thinking, do we care about mosquitoes right now? I don't really care about mosquitoes right now. Now's not the right time to talk about preparing for mosquitoes, okay? So we need to be thoughtful as to what do our people care about, and make sure that we're not rushing through our marketing efforts so that they are seen as genuine and helpful and not opportunistic. So if we go to the next slide here, you can see that there are some things that you should keep in mind. And the first one is from one of my favorite authors and writers, Rachel Hollis, and she was doing a business podcast. If you are an entrepreneur, you own your own business, or you like personal development, then you need to be thinking of this right here. This quote, screenshot it, hang it up in your office. Now is the time to obsess over your customers and not the news. There is a difference between being informed and being obsessed. And if you're going to choose to be obsessed, I recommend you obsess over your customers. Now is not the time for you to do a few things. First, I don't want you to necessarily launch a new product. I want you to think about how can you optimize what you have right now. I want you to think about how can I use something that I have in a more creative way. I have a really good example coming up soon. I want you to also think about the impact of running your business as usual. Anthropology was sending these text messages. You can see on the date here that this is related to, getting stuff coming in, like buying under $100, all of this stuff, text-based marketing, and they're not really talking about what's going on in the world yet. They're still trying to just push product. You need to be having really good relationship-based marketing, not just transactional marketing right now. Turn off those ads that are going to irrelevant offers. If you have some kind of event that you're hosting, if Roxy had sponsored ads for this event running on Facebook and they were talking about the in-person location, we would have made a mistake. So we have to pivot our ads. We have to take a step back. The third thing is to remember that you shouldn't try to be opportunistic right now and profit off of fear. So when you think about, an example that I was researching was the Norwegian Cruise Lines. They sent out an email to all of their team members and they were like, hey, tell your team the only thing they need to worry about, the only thing customers need to worry about is not having enough sunscreen on their next cruise. Like, that's not okay. We're not doing that kind of messaging. We need to pivot our thinking to something different. Now, Anthropology, while they are a bigger brand, I think I saw a comment come in saying these are not all small business type of examples. I will get to small business ones in a minute. I need you to understand that the power in marketing comes when you steal strategy, not copy content. So steal a strategy of a big brand. What are they doing here? And how do I apply it to my own brand? You'll see at the next slide that Anthropology did just that. You'll see I highlighted just this past week, they changed their messaging from automated campaigns that were about a product, and then they shifted the messaging to say, are you staying at home? Same here. This is what we can help you with. The next option there, that later on, hey, are you doing stuff around the house? The home spring event is here. So this is taking, if I have a lawn care company in town and I'm offering services to my people, I'm going to say, hey, I can, give you something more custom related to fixing your yard because you're going to be around your house more, as opposed to just offering a special discount or a deal right now. Make it more specific and targeted. So think about How do I own my mistake and then fix it and keep helping people along the way? The topics that you should focus on right now, the topics that are really trending that we see on social media, are around like baking and comfort foods, people being at home, people eating like they're going out, but they're cooking at home. How many of your friends are making sourdough bread right now? Like, I've seen so many of my friends making sourdough bread. I don't even know like how many people knew how to do that beforehand. We also see people talking about remote working or items that you can be delivered to your house. We talk about curbside specials. A local brand who has done this really, really well is the Five Arch Brewing Company. They unfortunately launched their business in the middle of all of this. And that was probably really hard for them. But they decided to not let that be their problem and use it as a platform to improve user experience. They updated their website and they created mobile ordering. So when I go to the website, I don't have to like call in my order. I can actually order straight from social media or straight from their website. And I have used this as a consumer. It's quick, it's easy. I pay online and I go get my food. It's simple and it's easy, and that's what you need to do for your customers right now. Whenever you think about stealing messaging, think about the company that I'm sharing here from Safe Fair. They have, let's use a local example. Hannah Bakes gluten-free, right? So she has this company here in town. She makes food. She has those little baking kits that you can buy. Her messaging right now should be, hey, take this home baking kit to your kids and have a fun activity during the day so that you can make memories and you can have fun together and you can pass time in the day. So again, it's stealing strategy that we're seeing other brands do and applying it to our own local area. And that again is something that is relatable because people are spending time with their kids and they do want to make memories and they want a good escape from what's happening in the world, and you can provide that to them. So going through this on the next slide here, I want you to think about, if you have a pen and paper, these are the 3 questions that I want you to write down. The first question, you're okay.
I missed
You're
you.
okay. Your first question I want you to ask is, does my product or service help those in need? So the one that I found from a big brand perspective was the distillery who created hand sanitizer from their alcohol. And I thought this was an amazing idea. It was high proof alcohol. And then the beautiful thing is I started to see this happen locally. So Route 40 actually started creating hand sanitizer with the products that they already had on hand. And they sold out really quickly. And what was happening in the market? What was the fear? We can't find hand sanitizer. The owners of Route 40 created that and they served that to their customers. They made it easy and they responded quickly with a product that they already had. And I loved it. The second example is from a small t-shirt company who creates, oh, Allison, I love that that's your friend's business in Pittsburgh. See, we're all kind of connected one way or another. So this Visit Indy is a t-shirt company that they decided what industry is being hurt the most right now. Well, probably a lot of us, but definitely hospitality and our dear friends who work in the food service industry. So they partnered with a t-shirt company and they decided to sell all of these t-shirts for $10. And then they were going to use that as a tip for people in the service industry. So this was posted last week. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that within a week, we were able to raise, everyone who donated, over $60,000 for hospitality workers in need. So if I'm listening to this and I own a t-shirt company or a craft business or some kind of business where I have a product that I can partner with someone and then give back, now's the time to do that. Because if you pay it forward a little bit now, to Peggy's point earlier, I'm gonna remember you, I'm gonna know that you did good, and I'm gonna wanna work with you in the future. And this is a great example of coming together as a community. I love this hashtag Indy keeps creating. Come up with a local community hashtag and partner with people so that we can make this happen and we can drive this on our level too. So if you go to the next slide, I'm going to give you another example of a question to ask. Question 2, what matters the most with my brand messaging? Right now, you need to be very empathetic. Peggy said this in her section. I guarantee Laura Lee is going to bring it up in her messaging too. You need to make sure that you're having empathy for what your people are feeling and experiencing right now. I want you to think about how do I really make an emotional connection with people and not make this be such a transactional experience with marketing? You also need to stop wasting those marketing dollars on irrelevant campaigns and offers. Lush is a company that creates bath bombs and products, and I think there is a local company at the farmers market here in town that creates very similar products, that creates, so if they're on the call, if you create bath bombs and you create soaps, have fun with it. You can see this message from a bigger brand says, you know, it's more important than ever to clean your hands, and you should be singing the chorus of Toxic by Britney Spears or Happy Birthday 2 times. And look at that call to action button. It doesn't say buy now, because people are afraid to buy right now. It says scrub up. So I'm more likely to hit that button if it says scrub up versus buy now, because I might think I'm like learning more or having more fun, and it's an enjoyable experience, and it's not a forced sell, and it's obviously really effective because I bought these bath bombs. I mean, I'm just saying. So clearly having this kind of fun call to action works. The second one, really quickly, if you go to the next slide, the slide we were just on. It's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. Everybody wants to see. It's okay. We'll have the slides later, but the library in Indianapolis sent out a tweet and said, what are you guys interested in reading? How can we help? And so they used Twitter as an opportunity to drive conversation with their people. And they actually asked, what do you want to read? And then people started responding. So if I have, if I'm a writer, if I have the library here in town, I need to be asking these questions so my people come in and I can be seen as helpful. You'll see when I say pivoting your ads, this bath bomb from Ulta makes sense because I'm staying at home and I'm not going out. If Ulta sent me a sponsored ad right now that was focused on makeup, I'm not going out. I'm not leaving my house. I put on jeans for this webinar for the first time in like 2 weeks. I'm glad they fit, to be honest, because I was a little concerned. But otherwise, I'm staying home. So your sponsored content needs to be based on people staying home, and it needs to be based on what they're experiencing right now. If you want to have humor with it right now, this is a sponsored post that I got from another brand who sells wine and you get it shipped directly to you. This is a great example of having a little bit of fun and humor and going into something that your target market will relate to, like the fear of running out of wine. Like that's fun and playful, but it's not like super offensive, right? So keep in mind what your audience will need. And then if you can give away free content, like this brand here, Gymshark, they do clothing company to work out in. They could have easily sent me an email that gave me a discount on their products, but instead they acted quickly and created workouts that I could do from home. And guess what? In the workout guides, in the workout videos, people are in their workout clothes. So I'm going to be sold to, and I know that subliminally, but I'm also going to get the helpful content that I need. So think about, how do I take something and not shove it in people's face, but be seen as helpful? And the word free right now is going to go pretty far, right? So what can you give away for free that you know will lay up the foundation for something bigger later? So going to the next slide here, I bought these bath bombs like I said I did. And Cooper loved them and he was excited. Look at that face. You can't fake that face, right? This is what you want to bring home. This is the joy you want to capture. So going on, I just can't do a presentation without Cooper in it. That's what this comes down to. Okay, the last question I want you to ask, how can I be more human in my marketing? This is so, so important, and maybe my most important tip of all right now. You see local brands doing this, and you also see big brands doing this, because being human matters a lot. Zoom, which is the platform we're using right now, is giving away the tool. I don't want to say giving away, but like the free version allows you to have really good conversations with people and get on face with them. And I see the comment here, I love Cooper, no bacon tips. We ran out of bacon. My kid literally ate a bacon dog treat the other day. This is how desperate we are in our house. So I know you're disgusted, Roxy. So Chipotle, they're humanizing their brand. It's a huge brand, but they're still getting their people on camera because they know being human matters a lot right now. Leland Legacy, oh my gosh, if you are on the call right now, locally, you did such an amazing job with this. How many of you have seen those videos where people are posting these dance videos in their kitchen and then they're having these fun dance-offs? That's the kind of content I'm here for. And guess what? Leland stole the strategy and they created a video of their team dancing. It was Justin Timberlake. They tagged them in the video, which was great. They reminded people to stay home. This video has, as of yesterday, 315 shares, and the views were almost out the door. I mean, I think it was like almost 20,000 views on this video. This had to have been the best performing video for the Leland of all time. I am loving these comments and shout outs for the Leland. This is the kind of humanized content that you need to be thinking about right now. Getting your people on camera, showing them the emotional piece of these people and their jobs and your jobs and why you do what you do. Remember, it's about why you do what you do, not what you do that makes people buy something. Okay? Hit your why really hard right now. That's really important. So if we go to the next slide here, there are some ideas to get you started. This is like me rattling off quick ideas off the top of my head. But if you work for a bank, now you need to start thinking of those virtual mortgage calls. You need to be demoing these videos of your technology that you're encouraging people to use at home and show them how to do this. You need to be thinking of partnering with like real estate agents or other local organizations that help you buy or sell homes right now. If we're in quarantine and we're trying to sell our house, how's that going? I've seen some funny jokes around this from real estate agents, you know, like, hey, can you imagine yourself being trapped in here with your family? Like, does this living room look like somewhere you would want to be trapped with someone for a month? Like, I mean, those are good questions, right? So having some fun with it, but being really helpful is really important. If I own a boutique or a craft product or even any kind of service industry, this is where you need to get on camera even more. Maybe you host these online trunk shows. Lux Lizzie does such a great job with their virtual fashion shows. And I loved that on Sunday, she said, should I be doing videos right now? I don't know if I should post this live sale. I think in her head, she's like, I don't want to be opportunistic, right? So she asked the question and like hundreds of people said, yes, we want to be there. We want to cheer you on. So keep doing that. Keep educating people. Maybe you do a video and you go into your closet and say, hey, go into your closet. Like, what can you pair together? And then I'm going to share some items that you can buy tonight on the show to match what you already have in your closet. Show us how you create. Show us your process. Ask us what we would like to hear from you as consumers. No matter what you do, like if you create like vintage tables or desks or chairs, like I would watch that video all day long because I have the time now. And I promise you, I'm never going to make one. Like that's not anything I ever want to do. But if you show me how to do it and you prove your expertise to me, I'm going to love it and I'm going to trust you and I'm going to buy from you. But I promise you, I'm not going to do it myself. And that's the same thing true for like a hair salon. If you are able to create like a payment plan for your customers and say, hey, or even I think we had someone on the call that does like lawn services. Maybe you do like $10 each week. And then by the time that you are there to do the service, they've already been paying along the way. So you're able to get money for you, even if it's on a small amount, and they feel like I'm on a payment plan and that they're preparing for the next appointment. And it makes me feel like I'm not going to drop $200 on, and I don't even know how much that is, but like for hair, I'm not going to drop $200 at my next appointment because I need everything fixed. I'm going to spend $10 every week leading till they're open. So encourage your customers, hey, I can't help you right now, but I need you to think about like, how can we lead up to this process? Again, educate me, share products that I can use that you can ship to me that I should be using at home because I can't see you. The last thing for like a restaurant, for example, online ordering, make it easy, make it simple. Give me curbside specials. I'm going to shout out our local, whether you call it South Side or whatever you refer it to, Legends, either one. I don't know. I haven't been around here long enough to know like what I should actually call this place. But they took a brilliant idea is they have the ability now through takeout to offer kids meals. So they have existing products and they said, I'm going to offer you a kids meal now because you know what? Your kid can't come in anyway, but we can take it to go. Now as a parent, I know I can order from them where I never thought to order kids meals from them before. Brilliant idea. No matter your industry, get your people on camera. Tell me about your cooks, your servers, your hosts, your people. Why do I need to know them, to love them, to support them, to be top of mind with them? And again, go back to that Leland example of what they did to really humanize their people. So I will share at the end of this call a link with some really great resources for you to consider. But remember that fear is contagious, but so is hope, okay? this is a really scary time, but I'm seeing a lot of really innovation come out of small businesses in our community. I'm seeing a lot of people get really creative and act really quickly. And I've shared some big brand examples, but local brand examples as well. And Julie Frame, I see you're on the call. These are flowers from Julie Frame right here. She's giving back to the community by doing a 10 for 10 campaign and giving flowers to nurses and having children write the notes to those nurses, because we know that children being involved in this messaging is really important too, and they're going to learn something from this as well. So you can do anything no matter your industry. You just have to have some hope and not let fear keep you stuck in the mud. And I think this is a perfect transition for Laura Lee to talk to us about how do we help get unstuck. But I'm happy to take any questions that you have for me, Roxy.
Yeah, so we had one question asked from, I believe, Valerie. She asked if she does, it looks like painting, and so she was wondering if she should do some online tutorials since people are painting more in their houses right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know exactly the kind of painting you do, like if you would paint my whole house or if you're a painter for custom art. But if I were you, I would do like a fun series where it's like including your kids in the art process, right? So thinking of if I have the ability to do a short little, maybe you print out something that, or take a picture of an outline that they could use, post that on social to get your engagement, do a Facebook Live of you actually painting it and including people in the process, and then say, hey, if you, oh, it's exterior painting. So my example went down a rabbit hole of like home painting, but you could also you could do more, if you're doing exterior painting, you should walk around the house and say like, hey, I'm gonna go live on Facebook and I'm gonna show you common areas that people need to update their house on. Or, hey, here's a way that you can refurbish something. And then when they're ready to do it, they're gonna think of you because you inspired them along the way with, these are the areas that most people need to update. These are the kind of processes and tools that I use, because I can't stress this enough. Lori Dickerson is on the call. She does my hair. I don't even know how to use a curling iron. She could post videos all day long about how to curl your hair, and I'm literally never going to know how to do it. And I feel the same way about your business with painting. I will love that. I will watch it, but I will never do it myself, right? We get caught up in this idea that our competitors are going to steal our ideas or our customers are going to do it themselves. But the reality is we just want you to be seen as trustworthy. We want to know who you are so we can work with you. And that's the kind of content that's going to help.
Great. I have a few more questions that came in privately, but we're going to pass the ball over to Laura Lee now, and then we'll come back to those questions towards the end.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ashley.
All right, welcome. It's Laura Lee, and so I want to say hi to the business community. And Roxy's going to put a poll up real quick. I'm personally dying to know where the pent-up demand is. So what are we going to do when this is all over? And as Ashley and Peggy were talking while we're waiting on this poll, I've been watching the traffic go by, just wondering at what point somebody's going to show up and the dogs are going to lose their mind and race for the door. And so I don't know what's going to happen, but there is a guy that's been riding his motorcycle. It looks like a young person riding like a dirt bike, back and forth, back and forth. It is very loud. So if you hear that, that's what it is. So just so you know, that's what I've been doing.
Laura
All
Lee,
right.
you know which option I picked on this poll.
Okay. Oh, everyone I know, I have no doubt that is what you chose. I have no doubt. So it's kind of a balance. I am in the travel bucket. Nobody's saying they're never going to work from home again. So everybody must still love being with their spouse, which the bomb was dropped yesterday when my husband, who has been essential working, came home and said, I'm home with you for 2 weeks. And we've been married for 22 years, and that's because I traveled for about 70% of our marriage. So we'll see how this goes in 2 weeks. I honestly, I have no idea. So thank you. I was just curious to see where all the pent-up demand is, and it looks like the restaurants better be prepared as well as traveling. So that's fantastic. All right, let's move on. So I do feel like Ashley and, oh, I'm controlling my own slides. Ashley and Peggy really did a good job of gearing up my content for the rest of this call. And so like Ashley said earlier, you know, we've been through this before, and I look at it broader than just 9/11. I think about, we've had pandemics before with the Spanish flu, but we also have a lot of natural disasters, though we've never done it collectively, globally, like we are now. I was on a phone with a friend of mine who's in New Orleans, and this was last week, and she said this feels very Katrina-like. And so it reminded me that many businesses go through these disruptive times. And what we know is there's about 3 things that they can do to kind of keep moving forward and ensure future success. One of those things is understand current state, and that's where Peggy started us today. Understanding, where am I financially? What is my outstanding accounts payable, accounts receivable? What's my sales pipeline? What's my channel? So my sales channel being, if I'm a vendor at a market, like one of the large markets, and I tend to travel around to those, that's my only sales channel. I've got to relook at where my sales channels will be. They get about from staffing, employee, my supply chain. Where's my raw materials? If I need it, am I going to have a challenge getting those? So Peggy started us there, and then Ashley moved us right into that innovation thing, being creative, and it's okay. We're probably going to do some things wrong. I can assure you, I probably have missed the mark a few times myself. It's that pressure to be innovative, but be natural in doing it. The thing I want to talk about is making decisions quickly and with confidence, and that's very hard to do right now. So even as a small business owner, I own a small consulting firm, I have employees too. I'm right there with you in this experience. I'm doing all the things I'm suggesting to you, and I have to make some decisions, and I need to do it quickly and with confidence, and accept that I may not have all the information that I need in order to make that decision. And I have to be okay with that, because I may not get all of the information given this, the times that we're in. So pivoting your strategy, I want to begin with what exactly is strategy. This word is used all the time. So I want to be really clear when we talk about business strategy specifically, it's really about your unique positioning up against competitors. So how am I positioned against competitors? And then what's my chosen path to reach my best envisioned future? So if I use this little analogy, I'm super visual. I like to draw things out. I've got to be able to see it in order to comprehend it. And I love the use of analogies. And so if we look at this little person over here, her best envisioned future is up there at that flag. And it's, what is my path to get there? I've got to cross the water. So how do I cross the water? She could take a sailboat. She could take a rowboat. Do you have the right rows, or oars, I mean? Do you have the right people in your boat? I'm going to take a speedboat. Do you have the right technology? Do you know how to drive a speedboat? I'm going to take a cruise liner. That's how I'm going to get to my best envisioned future. Do you have the right technology, the right budget, the right resources, the right people, the right process? All of that stuff, it has to be considered when we think about our best path forward. So analogies are great, but like, what's a real live example of a business and what their strategy is and what they pivoted to? So this is a great classic textbook example. It's actually used in strategy textbooks. There's a company called Hornsby, Hornsby Model Trains and Railways. They're out of Britain. In the late 1990s, they were really close to bankruptcy. And the CEO came in and said, we've got to readjust the strategy. We've got to figure out a different way to still grow market share and not file for bankruptcy. And so ultimately what they did is they considered, who do we serve today? We serve children. What do we serve them? We give them play trains. They pivoted that strategy to say, we're no longer going to serve children. We're now going to serve adults, but not just any kind of adult. We're going to serve hobbyists and collection adults, people that like to collect model trains. But the trains we produce today is not going to work for the people we want to serve tomorrow. We've got to change our trains, and now they need to be at scale, perfect scale model trains. They understood that the changing of who I serve must change my products that I create. So what else did they change? They changed their messaging. So they might contact their marketing department like Ashley and say, we want to appeal to their nostalgia. We want our hobbyists to remember when they were children and playing with their trains. That is the emotion that we want to pull. And so those 3 things is really their strategy and how they're going to reach their best envisioned future. So I want to give you some examples similar to what Ashley did. And then I'm going to give you at the end of it a couple of key things to think about if you're going to pivot your strategy. And then I'll answer some questions. So the one of the pivots was a bar down in Louisville, Kentucky. They did not sell food. So unlike a lot of the bars and that are bar restaurants that are delivering food, that was not an option for them. So instead they pivoted and they opened up a grocery store. So when you think about that, you think, oh my gosh, that's really creative, but I want to go a little deeper. I want to look at it from the strategic level. They had to consider, I can broaden my base of the customers in which I serve. So no longer do I serve over 21, I can now serve my entire community. Now, why am I doing this? What's my best envisioned future? For right now, today, it's to stay afloat and keep my staff. So how do I readjust what I've always done to do something different? What's the need? I need a local grocery store. They're in a walkable neighborhood. And so they took that, we can't sell alcohol. We've got to change. We're going to pivot to who we serve. We could serve everybody in our local community. And the other big thing is that there was not a significant cost or investment in making that change. Another one that I think is pretty cool, and this one's not local, but I do have a local one coming up. Another really small business, it's in New Jersey, called Disc Makers. They make vinyl, they make CDs. And if we think about their strategy, maybe it's, I'm going to be the best vinyl and CD maker for music lovers. And so if we think about their array, we do Blu-rays, DVDs, we do other things. But if I'm future thinking, that market may decline if there's a lot of people laid off. He's peeking around the corner and saying, I don't know that they're going to be buying my product right now. So what did he do? He pivoted, and now instead of serving music lovers, they now serve the healthcare community, and they're making shields for faces. And so I think that is a great example. And when I got up this morning to prepare for this, Primex Plastics is doing the same thing, and they're serving Reed. Now, they may not be saying, well, what can we do to keep staffing? They could be, I don't know. But instead, I see it as they're also serving their local community. Ashley talked about a partnership earlier. This is a great partnership with Primex Plastics and Reed. And I think it was quote that somewhere that this is like Apollo 13 moment for Primex Plastics. And I give them a big shout out. I think that that's fantastic. The pivot was there. They did it maybe for a different reason, but what are the things that we have to consider? So Ashley talked about making some marketing pivots. I'm talking about more product service pivots. So what should we be considering? The first thing I think we have to consider is be true and authentic to the organization's values. There's all different types of words that they use. They'll call them brand values, someone call core competencies, commitment to the customer. We call them customer promises. But at the end of the day, it's whatever that framework is that you use when you think about your business. Some people say we're committed to the community. That's one of their core values. Well, is your pivot committed back to the community? And how do you include that in your marketing? As Ashley said before, humanizing that. So you link it directly to the values. You don't want to go way off of something that's not part of who you are as an organization. So, oh, there they are. There's the dogs. Did you hear them? Okay, because this is the life in which we are in. It's perfectly fine. We're going to roll with it. And so the next thing would be focus on the customers. So think about, am I expanding my customer base like we saw with the bar example, where they went from people over 21 to everybody in my neighborhood? Or am I going to get more focused on a very specific targeted market and go a little deeper with them in the product offerings that we have? Change or enhance or streamline a product or service. Ashley mentioned earlier about now's not a good time to launch a product. And I would say that make it more like, and she gave another example, it really depends. Things that I would consider is, do I have the resources? Would I have to go in debt to do this? Do I have the right market research done? If those things are all no, it's probably not the right time. But if I can pivot just a little bit, like Jeremy King put up a picture of Texas Roadhouse in Richmond, they're now doing uncooked steaks for carryout. Now, they already cooked steaks before, but now I can sell them uncooked, and I've reduced the cost to producing that product. So I've got a reduction in fees, but yet I'm still moving my my supply along. And I think that is a really good example of a good pivot. Think about doing things that are not going to increase costs, and consider the unknowns and the uncertainties. So I'm in your position. We're all in this together. And I looked at my pipeline of all the business that I had, all the proposals I had, and I had to make a decision. Which clients do I think are going to move forward and which are likely not to, given the market that we're in? This helped me forecast what I believe I can keep for staffing and what I believe I should be doing for my own marketing, my own pivots in the services that I provide. I have to accept that I do not know. All of them may go through. None of them may go through. I don't know. And so I have to accept that these are things that are uncertain, but it cannot stop us from making a decision to move forward. The last thing I would say is consider the downstream impacts. So some of the things that we saw with Primex Plastics or some of the others is that, do you have the material in which to do this? So somebody asked earlier, should I be painting online? You can set up a camera and set that up very, very, very quickly. So that's great. If I have to go out and buy, I feel like I've got to go spend $1,000 in equipment for something that may or may not work, I would think about the downstream impacts of that. If I have to borrow money, how's this going to fit in when I move my strategy back? Like, am I going to have this equipment that I'm never going to use again? So just think more holistically. All right, so I do have something free for you. Oh, there they are again, the dogs. So they're saying hello to all of you. So I want to give you a free toolkit. It's out on the site. Roxy's going to send it out. I don't expect you to take notes on everything we talked about. And let's be honest, you're probably not going to re-listen to this as much as I would love to think that you are. But many of the things that we talked about, actually, pretty much all of them are inside of this toolkit. And it's free for you to have. It'll walk you through the process that we really walked through today. But this will be recorded. So if you would love to hear us again, you'll be able to do that. And I think Roxy will be sending that out. So I'm going to pause there and just ask what questions, thoughts, concerns do you have?
If you have questions, you can reach out to any of our speakers after this. You can also reach out to me. I'll drop my email address in the chat box, and then I can get that information and create a communication between any of our speakers. Laura Lee, we did have one question that came through. Someone wants to know, if they can't pivot their business because they're considered non-essential, they're providing a service to someone, what can they do?
That's a good question, Roxy. Something that comes to my mind is my nail tech. So she had to move out. You may not be able to do it from home legally, and it may essentially put her out of business for a period of time. Ashley made some great recommendations about buying gift cards so that we can use them in the future, and I think that that's an excellent idea. I think it's also a good time for us to consider what additional services. So if I'm a nail tech, maybe I'm thinking about how I can do the nails differently. There are some new products out that she did not offer before because she hadn't had time to learn them and absorb them and actually practice them and know that she could do a good job. This would be a good opportunity to do that. It's the same way with the bar that went to a grocery store. So we know that that's not their long term, but when I come back stronger than before, now's a great time to reflect. Maybe they're going to make very unique drinks that are not located at any other bar. They're going to be experimenting and figuring out what's like the most awesome drink that I can offer that nobody else has. And that's going to be something I can do when we stand ourselves back up. I also think about, for that bar, maybe we know people have been apart, so they're going to want to come together. So what is some cool game that we can pull off? Because before I didn't have time to think about it. I'm busy all the time in my bar. Now's the time that I can pause and reflect and make sure that I come back stronger and better than before. So thank you for that question.
Keep submitting your questions in. If you have, you can either send them to me privately. Looks like Val just posted one. She says, rather than show how to paint something in a video, would it be better to do Facebook Live that simply offers free do-it-yourself interior or exterior painting over the phone?
So Valerie, I was taking down notes whenever my brain works where I have to process something and then I have all these ideas popping in my head. And I love that you're thinking so creatively around how do I be helpful right now, because I think that speaks to who you are as a person. You could absolutely do that. And I also would encourage you to think about questions that people have all the time for your business. So how do I pick out a paint color? Maybe you have a post around, this is how you should pick out paint. These are the paints that I use. These are the things to watch out for. these are the things that I've done wrong, and this is what I know now when it comes to picking out paint. If you want to have fun, you could say, these are what paint colors say about you. So you know how we take those quizzes when we're younger? Did anybody read Cosmopolitan magazine? And it's like, follow this path if you're this, say yes, go no, and you do all these quizzes. People love that kind of stuff. So maybe you could do a quiz. BuzzFeed actually has a tool where you can create your own quiz. So if I were jotting down notes, I would take a note to look into a BuzzFeed quiz. And then Valerie, you can create a quiz and it should say, what color should I paint my house? And that could be really fun. It could be like, do you like to travel here or do you like to travel there? And then just have fun little recommendations based on this output of the quiz. It doesn't always have to be super connected. I'll drop some examples of these quizzes to Roxy to share with you. But giving interactive content and letting people come into the process is going to be really helpful right now for you. So use tools like BuzzFeed quizzes to ask those kind of questions. Talk about the psychology of color. So red, what does red mean if it's on your house? Like, we know through research that red is a more urgent, fiery color. You know, this is what this color means. Maybe each Monday you share a color and like what that color means or represents. And you're educating people, you're inspiring them, but you're not like shoving something in their face to buy now, but it's still engaging content. And then that person, because when you think about why content goes viral, there's 3 reasons content goes viral. Well, there's 6, but the top 3 are, is this funny? Did this make me laugh? Especially right now. The second one is, if I share this content, does this make me look smarter? So we know that people like to be seen as smart at times. And so they'll either share it on their page or they'll use what you share in an upcoming conversation and they'll talk about what you taught them. And the third reason that's most common is really rooted in that idea of nostalgia, or it makes us feel or go back in time. So you could think about what could you share related to your painting business back when you were a kid. You should say, hey, what color was your house when you were a kid? Drop your comments below, right? Like asking those kind of questions, again, that aren't sell-based, but they're engagement-based.
Great, thank you, Ashley. Peggy, this question is for you. Can we still sign up for next week's sessions that we received information about via email?
Would that be ISBDC sessions? Probably not. We have actually just canceled all of those for the time being.
Okay. So if you are interested in learning more about that, or if you want to reach out to Peggy for more information, Peggy, will you drop your email in the comment box?
I can do that.
Lori wants to know, is it insensitive to use tutorials featuring the products she sells in her salon, or tutorials that can be based with or be used with any product?
I have an answer, but I've been dominating Q&A. So Laura Lee, if you want to answer this, I'm more than happy to do it.
So the question is, should I use, we'll just see if we have the same answer. So I don't think that there's an issue. You know the movies, Lori, where like they have this, like they hold the cup like just perfect so that you can definitely like, here's my, I'm just putting this brand, it's not in your face. I think that that's different. So if you're saying, if you're going to tell me how to use a very specific type of product and you say, this is the one that I use, I don't think that's offensive at all. It's different than saying like, you got to buy this and here's the product that I use. I think it's all about the approach. So I'm okay with it. Ashley, what's your thoughts?
I think it's also okay. I think there's a difference between like a product promo video and a how to do something video. Mm-hmm. So the difference between a how to do something video could mean like, Lori, you come out and you're like, guess what? I actually secretly use this brand from, I don't know where you secretly buy brands from, right? It's like, oh, this could be like, I really actually love this knockoff brand. But if you want to buy in the store, like we carry a similar product, right? Like you could take it that approach. But if it's truly your intention is to educate people on your products and why are those products different, that's just a different strategy, as opposed to going behind the scenes and inviting the customer into your home, your client into your home. Then it could be anything. Like Laura Lee said, it's fair game. It's like, this is what I have. This is what I use.
Yeah, like, and I'm curling my hair. Here's the product that I'm using to do it. And this is why it works. And then you're doing the demonstration.
Yeah, exactly. So I just take it back to intentionality. Am I doing a behind the scenes or is this a product promo, an education piece?
Peggy, this question is for you. If I'm applying for a loan, should I ask for as much money as possible or the least amount that I think I might actually get?
Well, I have read specifically for that SBA disaster loan, you probably should not ask for more than you really think you need. And there will be opportunity to re-ask for more down the road. So my suggestion would be to not ask for more than you could possibly need.
Great answer. And then one other question came in for you, Peggy. I have applied for the SBA EIDL loan, but they did not ask me for the amount I'm asking for. How will they determine the amount I need for my loan?
That is a great question, and one that we've received from other people, because it's been kind of up in the air there. People think I did this, but they didn't ask me how much. I think they take into account what it looks like it would take for your business to survive. And they're not going to just write a check. They're going to contact you and talk with you about that before it's issued.
Okay, well, that hits the 1 hour mark for our webinar. I can't believe we squeezed all of that information in an hour. Whew. We do have a few upcoming events that I wanted to chat about really quickly. The Chamber is hosting weekly think tanks, and we are excited to announce, you will be the first ones to know, that Greg Pence will be jumping in on next Tuesday's think tank and be discussing issues with COVID-19. So make sure that you jump in on that. It will be Zoom as well. We've had a great attendance to these in the past, and it's just a great way to share information. Next week, same time, it will be through a Google Hangout. We will be hosting Get Your Business Online with Google, and this will be a 3-part series. We have brought in Aaron Bemis from Google to teach these sessions, so this is a great opportunity to learn some new free options on how to do your business online. So we're excited to have that. All of this information is available at wcareachamber.org, and you'll see it on social media, hopefully this afternoon. Are there any other slides?
I don't think so. Okay. Hold on. I was just putting maybe you're right.
Well, I think we just have an appendix at the end.
Oh,
so
sorry.
I put an appendix in these slides for you. If you are like, Ashley, you shared all these marketing ideas and there's so many buzzwords that I don't know what you're talking about because I'm not a marketer. Like, I hear you, I see you. And so I put together some resources for you. And I also have an article that will go into more detail around this. And I tried to cover as many options as possible so that you have what you need to go be crafty and maybe a little scrappy with your marketing and know what tools to use along the way. Because I'm here for it, right?
I want to give a big thank you to Peggy, to Ashley, and Laura Lee. Say thank you to them in the comments. They stepped up to the plate on this one. It's not often that you're given just a week to pull together a presentation, and these ladies did it. No questions asked. They went hands in. So I really appreciate them providing all of this information. This webinar was recorded and will be available on the YouTube channel that the Chamber has. Tanya put in the chat box that our Google and our think tank events are both available online and on Facebook, so you can visit wcareachamber.org to learn more information. Thank you everyone for jumping in. This was a great turnout, and I hope you all learned a little bit more about how to navigate this new situation that we're in. Thank you, ladies, and have a great day.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
It was fun.